Hello my friends, Scott here representing Youth Potential. As you may have realised, I'm in a completely different place of recording. This is my partner's room and I'm sitting right in front of a window, so if at any point the sun comes out and my face goes bright, that's why. It's not that I've got alternate changing lighting going on behind the camera. Anyway, more importantly, this video is about my experiences with borderline personality disorder, also known as emotionally unstable personality disorder. What I really want to talk about is what it's like to live with, the symptoms that I have to live with, because there's going to be plenty of people watching this that have no idea what a BPD or EUPD is like. I just really want to inform people what it's like. A lot of people know about different mental health disorders and struggles such as depression, anxiety, bipolar, but I think borderline personality disorder is one of those ones that doesn't get spoken about enough, isn't recognised, and I just kind of want to give you like a first-person view as to what it's like. I have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, or emotionally unstable personality disorder is the more modern term for it. So strictly speaking, I was diagnosed at the age of 19 with it, but I wasn't aware that I was diagnosed with it until about the age of 27. Now the reason for that is because when I was 19 I got handed a piece of paper with a report on it. I never read it and I just shoved it with all my other medical records, and it wasn't until recently did I actually realise that I had that diagnosis. But it was re-diagnosed, if that's even a word, re-diagnosed unto me at the age of 27 at the earlier this year actually. Now you can Google borderline personality disorder or emotionally unstable personality disorder and you can read up a good sort of chunk of symptoms. There's symptoms that I personally don't think I suffer from, and I'm not going to cover them. I just want to cover the kind of things that I have to deal with day in and day out, because everybody who has this personality disorder has it to like almost to different degrees, if you like. I think I have probably about 90% of the symptoms. Some people have have all of them, some people have a bit less, and of course the personality disorder can merge over into bipolar, depression and anxiety, and they kind of, I wouldn't say work together, but kind of their symptoms kind of are present within one another. Okay, so, and I'm not gonna, and this is, none of this is textbook, this is just me talking about my experiences, what I live with, what I deal with day in, day out, and yeah, so without further ado, let's get on with it. So, black and white thinking, or splitting as it can be known as, this is a very common symptom of personality disorders. I, as a majority, basically find that I'm either completely for, completely against, or it's I find everything's either really positive or really negative. I'm all or nothing basically, and that's why it's called black and white thinking. There's no kind of grey area, there's no kind of like middle ground or in between. I find that I either really like something or I really don't like something, and it's quite frustrating because I look at everything like it's good or it's bad. There's no kind of in between. I think it doesn't frustrate me as much as it can frustrate other people, to be honest, which has happened to me in the past. People have said to me like, Scott, you're all or nothing, or you know, it's either one thing or the other. There's no kind of compromise. There's no in between. There is no grey area, and that's. But it's okay. I deal with that. That's fine. I'm able to enjoy things, or I'm able to not enjoy things. At least I have those emotions. You know, if I was just all grey and just completely in the middle of everything, it would be probably worse to live with. To be honest, I wouldn't find enjoyment. I wouldn't be able to find discomfort or dislike. But it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. I live with it. It's okay. It's okay. But it's also not to say that I don't ever find middle ground with things, or I can't compromise. Sometimes it just takes a lot of like reflection, a lot of outside counsel. You know, other people sometimes have to really make me think about things and explain things thoroughly and help me kind of see all different angles to things in order to help me find that kind of that grey area in things, rather than just either loving it or loathing it. So yeah, black and white thinking, that's one of the symptoms that I kind of deal with. Now, mood swings is another symptom, and this is going to cover a lot of borderline personality disorder. So with mood swings, I find it very easy to get triggered by things. So basically, if I see something that I associate with like an unpleasant memory, or a good memory, it's not just negatives that get triggered by it. You know, there are positive triggers as well. So for example, one of the things that I find quite triggering personally is people arguing, like a serious argument, not disagreement. I'm talking about sort of like kind of raising voices and things getting quite heated. I find that quite triggering because it relates to when my parents broke up when I was a young child. That wasn't my bum, by the way, that was my elbow on the desk. And yeah, it just sets off something within me that either makes me anxious or agitated, frustrated, feel depressed, sometimes angry, and I find it quite hard to deal with. I find that emotion hits me quite intensely. Now, there are other things that trigger me as well. I'm not going to go into detail. I just want to basically say that I am easily triggered by certain events that relate to other events in my life. They do trigger me, and it's almost like without warning as well. It's like I will see something that is one of my triggers, or I will experience something that's one of my triggers. Maybe it's a smell that I associate with a particular memory, or hear a song that particularly relates to a certain moment in my life, and it will just bring back, I'll just get a flash of images in my head, a particular memory, and then my mood will just dip, and that's it. It's not slow and descending, it's just bang, crash right down like that. And at the same time, there are good things that that trigger me and make me feel like on top of the world as well. But I to be honest, I seem to notice more of the negative triggers, and I quite often associate the word triggered with negative things, and it just sends my mood all over the place. It's crazy, and it's really fucking annoying to deal with as well, to be honest, because I can't hide from all my triggers. I can't go out into the real world and not expect something to be related to something in my life and not let it affect me. It's hard. If I'm on my own, it is really fucking hard. You know, sometimes I'll be with other people and they'll be talking to me, and I'll see these triggers and it will just send me bang, crash right down to the bottom again. But at the same time, when I'm with other people, they might be a good distraction. They might recognise that my mood has dipped. I'll go really quiet and they'll be able to lift me out of it. So what else can we talk about in terms of mood swings? Yeah, once again, I just want to emphasise that with BPD or EUPD, emotions are quite intensified compared to the average person. So if something's really good, it'll be really fucking good, and if something's bad, it'll be really fucking bad. Like, I tend to find I spend most of my time living either like I'm feeling good, I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling motivated, optimistic, like I'm having a great time, or I'll be at the complete opposite end and I feel like life's not worth living. I know it sounds extreme, but I feel like I want to fucking kill myself, I want to hurt myself, that nothing's going my way. I get really angry, I feel fucking miserable, feel frustrated, feel anxious, and it's a fucking pain in the arse, you know, not having that middle ground. The mood swings just going all over the place. It's just, oh, yeah, it is a right pain in the arse. Right now, I'm feeling good. I'm making this video and I'm feeling fucking on top of the world. Another thing that I have to deal with mood swings as well, doesn't always require triggers. Sometimes I can just be going about my daily business. I can be at work, I could be out walking around in the world, I can be doing something, and I'll feel my mood just change like that. Without warning, without any triggers, there'll be absolutely nothing that I can comprehend that it's happening to me or around me that has made my mood change. And again, it just happens so fast. I could be at work, I could be just doing my thing, you know, doing my job, and I'm having a good time. I've got the music in the background playing, and my mood will just stop and then just go, and it'll be horrible. I can't stand it. It's so irritating when that happens. And it can take a long time for me to kind of pull myself out of that mood. I have to do a lot of like self-motivating. I have to kind of talk to myself a lot to kind of pull myself out of that. And it's really, it's just irritating because I don't see it coming. It just happens. I don't see enough people talking about this either. Please, if you guys find that your mood swings, if you've got BPD or EUPD and your mood swings without a trigger, please leave a comment in the section. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear about that, because sometimes I feel like that just happens to me and no one else. So please go ahead. So what else? What else am I living with when it comes to BPD? Yes, manic episodes like hyperactivity. So this is on the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to mood swings. Sometimes I kind of feel like my chest is rising with excitement, and I just start giggling to myself, and then I just keep laughing. I find things funny that aren't that funny, and I feel like I can just plough through anything and just do whatever I want, and nothing can stop me. I feel invincible, indestructible. And to be honest, sometimes it makes me end up saying and doing things that I'll regret really impulsively. I'll kind of say something stupid or quite childish or irritating. Like I've had people tell me that I'm really fucking annoying sometimes when I'm in that state, because I'm like a happy, excited child. Yeah, but to be honest, I quite enjoy being like that, because it is good. But at the same time, when it ends, the mood, when I'm really high up, the higher I am, the harder I fall, and I come crashing back down, and it's exhausting, absolutely exhausting. So another thing that I experience a lot is that I worry about what people think about me. Now, I know loads of people are like that regardless of mental health, but what I'm trying to say is that I take criticism very poorly. If someone says something and they don't like about me, I get so offended, and I really ask myself, you know, what have I done to upset that person? Why don't they like this about me? You know, what could I do to change that? And this is another reason why I don't respond to a lot of comments on my channel either, is because I'll get comments that are quite negative or whatever, and I really have to bite my tongue not to respond with something impulsive and childish or angry, or kind of like, you know, why don't you like me, and all this kind of stuff. I know deep, you know, I'm able to reason with myself and say, you know, like, I shouldn't care what anybody thinks. And upon reflection, upon a lot of thinking about it, and kind of, you know, even some outside help from others, I'm able to not get easily criticised, you know. But at first, my initial gut reaction with things is like, if someone doesn't like me, or someone is giving me some feedback and it's unpleasant, I instantly get either on the defensive, or I get upset, or I get anxious, I get frustrated, I get angry. And I know I shouldn't. Like the other day at work, I had someone complain that they waited 25 minutes for their food, and they didn't wait 25 minutes. I know for a fact that they didn't. And now I can sit there and say to myself, that person's an idiot and he's just complaining for the sake of complaining. And I know I did everything right and they got their food on time. But at the time, I got so angry. I did. I just remember being like, oh, fuck this, fuck that shit. Like, this person doesn't fucking know what they're fucking talking about, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I shouldn't have got angry, but I just did. Another symptom as well is that I struggle with rejection, separation, abandonment, those kinds of things. This all obviously stems back to when my parents split up. well, I wasn't abandoned as a child. It felt like, you know, the family was separating, and it felt like a form of abandonment. The rejection side of things is, you know, I've had people, relationships end that I'm not particularly, haven't dealt with very well, or people that I've really been fond of have kind of like stopped talking to me, and just not bothered, and we've drifted apart, and that's left me feeling really empty and sad. And then it makes me question, you know, what have I done wrong? And if I feel like things are going that way, I make all the effort to try and talk to that person, and I overdo it. I start apologising for things, and I probably shouldn't need to, because I just don't want these people to come out of my life. And yeah, and probably what I'm doing, you know, overcompensating for not wanting them to leave me, probably just pushes them away further. Okay, yeah. And finally, I resort to self-destructive behaviours. Probably one of the most common symptoms of BPD or EUPD. Self-harm, obviously, being the one that I not engage in the most, but the one that I have engaged in the most over the course of time. Although I have been getting better at managing that. I don't self-harm daily anymore, and I'm really proud of that. So yeah, I engage in self-harm, cutting myself mostly. Obviously, I have tried to take my own life before. I have overdosed. Things have sometimes have been planned, sometimes have been something's triggered me to want to go and do that. Sometimes I smoke, especially at work. That can get quite stressful sometimes, and I find myself needing to go for a cigarette. Or if I'm been caught in a really awkward situation, sometimes like if I found therapy or talking to someone about like a mental health specialist about things, I found that quite stressful and agitating, and I felt like I've needed a cigarette. If I'm feeling low, I find that I don't eat, I don't have much of an appetite. I'm able to go most of the day without eating. And finally, impulse buying as well. That is a self-destructive behaviour that I've been so bad with. I've given my money to my mum to look after from now on, that I earn from my job. I know I've been so bad at it. Like, as soon as I get money, I want to spend it, because I'm trying to fill a gap, an emotional gap, with like a physical, material thing, and it's no good. It isn't. I buy it and I think it's going to give me a quick fix, you know, a quick sort of gratification, satisfaction, and it just doesn't. And I look at my bank account, I'm like, fuck, I've got no money again for a whole nother month, and it makes me feel worse. And then I want to self-harm and, you know, just engage in those self-destructive behaviours. It's terrible. So now my mum's looking after my money, and she's making sure that I don't spend it all, and I feel so much better for it, and I'm glad I've made that decision. If you're someone like that, if you can give other people your money to look after, I think that's a really fucking great idea. So what I've done is I've given her all my bills money, and when my bills are due, she'll transfer me the money to pay off, and my spare money that I've left over, will break it up into, like, divide it by 4, because there'll be like 4 weeks between paydays, for example, and then, so like, for example, if I have £100 left over spare, I'll get £25 one week, £25 another, £25 another, and then £25 another. So at least I don't, if I've got no money, it's not long till the next one. So that kind of gives me the ability to feel kind of a lot more relaxed about it, and I don't feel so fucking poor either. Yeah, so that's the kind of shit that I deal with day in, day out, basically. I really hope that gives you a good insight as to my the kind of what it's like living with BPD. I know everyone's going to have their own experiences. Some people will have some of the other symptoms that I haven't mentioned, or maybe won't have some of the symptoms that I mentioned. Please, if you live with borderline personality disorder, leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what it's like. I know I don't respond to my comments at the moment, and that's just because I don't feel that I can at the moment. But I do read every single one, I promise, okay? Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I know this video's been a lot longer than my other ones, so it means a fucking lot to me. Anyway, guys, all the best. Take care.